Hi, I'm Lin.
And I'm Leo. Welcome back to Yoga with Lin and Leo.
And welcome to lesson 5 of our foundation course.
Yes, and today we're going to be introducing a few poses that are involving balance. So let's hope you're steady as a rock.
Yes, and it's 5 poses, only 5 poses. So hopefully you have time to fit this in and make it a regular practice. So we start in Utkatasana with our feet together. So we've gone through this pose, but you can never get enough of this action. You have to see that you scan the body. As you can see, Leo's having a look at her feet here. Have a look at the feet. See that you're spreading your toes. And now see that you challenge the weight. So distribute the weight right back into the heel bones at this stage, so that it activates the legs, the thighs, all have to lift up from that tiny little bite in the lower abdomen, and then roll the shoulders back and down. So we're coming into Utkatasana, so this is translated into chair pose. So it's as if you're going to sit down onto a chair. What's really important is that you get the arm work right, because when you go into this pose, you want to see that there's full extension in the body. So extend those arms forward and then extend those arms up. Yes, very good. So you see this extension all the way up through the body to the fingertips. Now what tends to happen quite often is the arms tend to come back here. Now, if you're a complete beginner or rusty in your practice, then this needs to be sorted out. So one of the ways you can do this to help this movement in the shoulders is to put a belt around the upper arms. So this may be a little bit more helpful for some of you who have got stiffness in your shoulders, and don't worry about the stiffness, that's why we practice the yoga. So see that you stretch into your fingertips and then extend up and over. So I just want you to see this action one more time, because there's something really important. So if you're on your mat and you're listening, then just take a look at this video. So you have to see that you extend. Now notice that Leo's extending an extra bit so that she can make space in that ball and socket joint. So remember, if it's too bulky or if it's too stiff, then it will be really challenging to take those arms up. So taking those arms up nice and straight, good. Now lifting up, so this is an optional action, we'll leave it on Leo for the time being, but you have to see that if you're using the belt, you use it to create that space, but it's not always needed. Some of you will be able to reach your arms up nicely. Now we're going to soften the knees. See that you support the spine, moving the body groins, soften the body groins to the spine and extend forward as if you're coming onto your chair. Now notice, because Leah's got the belt on, so it will keep her arms back, the arms do need to stay beside your ears, and that is the challenge of Utkatasana. Hugely challenging. And then taking a breath in and releasing. So you can repeat this pose several times. So practice 2 or 3 times. Each time come back to Tadasana and just observe your breath for a few moments. Always when you come out of the poses, when you come into mountain pose, it just brings your center back. So be in your Tadasana for a few moments before we prepare for our next pose. Our next pose is going to be a bent leg pose called Parsvakonasana. Some of you will be familiar with this. We have introduced this in our previous videos. So you can see Leo's getting a brick ready to take her hand to. So stand in the center of your mat, taking your fingers to your chest and take a breath in and jump the legs wide apart. Good. Now turning the feet so that you're turning your left foot in and the right leg out. Now these arms have got to go really long and extended so strongly. And then make a square with your front leg. Be mindful that you're pushing back into that back leg, the heel bone very strongly, and then rest the arm onto the thigh and just be there, and take that backhand onto the hip, be there. Now, see that you keep the opening in the front body, and then can you take that right hand down onto the brick, or you can take it further. Now, what's really important in the very beginning is that you get this alignment. So sometimes when we go too quickly, we take the hand down onto the floor, then we find that we lose the action in the outer hip, and you come into, you can see, this action. So we want to avoid all of that and come into this action with the outer buttock in, the shoulder back, and extend it. Now, the last action, extending the top arm up. Now, what I will say is that you need to reach again, how we did in that Vrksasana in the previous action, and then extend the arm over. So for any flexion, rotation, or movement, you need space. So you've got to reach those muscle fibers as much as you can. Stamp into your back leg, and then take a breath in and see if you can come up out of the pose, turning the feet to face forward. And then coming to the other side. So again, reaching those arms out, turning your back foot in, and turning the whole of the front leg and foot out. So again, these arms need to be shoulder level. Quite often we want to take them up like this, but we have to see that they're shoulder level. And then keeping so much strength in those arms, bend that front leg, yes. And then once you've made your square, push into your back leg and bend the arms so you can rest in this stage. Well, it's not actually resting, but we're coming to a pause. So pushing back into that back leg, and then see, can you take your right hand down. Now, I do apologise for the sound outside. We are on the hospital route, and that will be an ambulance going by, so I do apologise. So then rotate the top shoulder, and make sure that the outer hip is moving in. The outer hip needs to move in. And then we come to this final action, lifting up and extend over. So it's very interesting, we get lots of people who are just starting yoga in our basic classes, in our foundational classes, and the stiffness is there, and that's every reason why you should be doing yoga, because it will help you with your mobility. So press into your back leg, and then take a breath in and come up, and turning the feet to face forward, and bringing the legs together. Okay, stand in your Utkatasana. Just recover for a few moments, take the weight back, breathe through your nostrils, be aware of the breath, and scan the body, grounding down into your legs, seeing that you're lifting up through the center of the body, opening the chest, keeping the breath soft. We're coming into our next pose, which is going to be Vrksasana, which is tree pose. So this is a balancing pose, so what we'd like you to do is to be sure you've got a wall nearby. So to start with, you can have your back against the wall.
I'm going to use that.
Yes, we're going to use that. Yes, we will.
I'll put that around my neck.
Yes. Now, just in brief, when you rotate this leg out to the side and you take the leg up to the inner thigh, there's variations of this, so I just want to go through this. If the foot is lower, down here, or down here, then that's not going to be very helpful to you. So as long as the knee is quite happy, then you place the support around, and then you hold on to it, and you can see if you can just gradually through time pull up. So if this is the case, then you need to come into this stage with the back to the wall. But if you are working quite well, then you won't need so much support of the wall. So what you will do is you can turn and have one hand to the wall, which is quite useful. Now, of course, if you can stand in the center of the room, then there's always that option as well. So taking your leg into your Vrksasana. If you don't need the belt, don't worry. You can release the belt and just hold on to the leg. As you can see, Leo is here. Just bringing that foot into place. So what's really important in this pose is that the connection between the sole of the foot and the inner thigh, they're pressing together. So see that your hand is to the wall, you're pressing so much with the sole of the foot and the outer left thigh so strongly. And now see, can you take those arms away and taking the arms up above the head? So if this is your first introduction to yoga, then you may be able to balance, but if it's difficult, you've got that wall there. And if the stiffness is in the hips, then you can have your back to the wall. So you can work in several ways towards the pose. And sometimes the actual pose, the classic pose, can be quite challenging. And then release it. So either turn yourself around if you're using the wall. If you're in the centre of the room, then you can just come to the outside, come to the other leg. So now taking your left leg to your thigh, as you can see it's quite a strong outward rotation. Lift up through the centre of the body, roll your shoulders back and down, lifting up. And then if you're able to, taking the arms up. So this is really an important action of the pose, because what happens here is that you extend all the way through the centre. So sometimes it's very good to just focus perhaps a point about a mat away from you so that you have a focus with the eyes. You have to see that you bring your senses inside to be able to create this balance. And then releasing. And come back to Tadasana, stand in Tadasana. And roll your shoulders back and down. Again, come back to find that balance. So take the weight right back into the heels, pull up the knees, the thighs, lift through the centre of the body, and let the arms release down beside the sides of the body, being sure that you are lifting up. Be aware of the lower spinal region, the tailbone, and see that you anchor down with the tailbone as you lift up through the centre. Okay, as you can see here, for our next pose, we're by the wall. So if you've got a piece of wall, then do place your mat to the wall, because we're coming for Adho Svanasana, dog facing down, but you're going to need to press your fingers and thumb into the wall. So take a look at the video and see how we work with this. So you can see that Leo is placing her hands down. Now this is really a wonderful way for a beginning or a foundation practice of Adho Svanasana. So when you're in this position, you have to see that you move the abdomen towards the spine. This is very important that you support that central structure, and then tuck your toes under. And then push into the wall and come up. So as you come into this pose, you have to see you use that wall as a fulcrum to push very strongly back. That's it. So you have to remember that the action is back. Now I'll put my hand on Leo's lower back here to help her to understand that action a little bit more. So you have to imagine that you have a very strong weight on this lower spinal area. Now, if you find this very challenging, some of you will, and some of you will have your back a little bit like this. It's difficult unless you're going to a qualified Iyengar teacher to actually see what your back looks like. So you may want to have a look in the mirror to see if your back is like this. And if this is the case, then you have to try to get a little bit more mobility in that pose and come forward to the wall and then push yourself back from the wall and come forward. We've demonstrated this technique in a few of our previous videos. Again, once you're there, you just stay there, take a few breaths, be in the pose, and then soften your knees, bend your knees, and reach back into Adho Vrksasana, and just be in this position for a few moments and rest there. So when you're in this position, it just gives you time to become aware of your breath, your inhale and exhale. So what we're going to do now is come into Sukhasana. So coming up out of this position, and then sitting in your Sukhasana. Now some of you will need to sit on supports. We haven't got any supports with us here, so we're sitting on the floor. But just take a few moments in your Sukhasana, just softening the eyes and taking a few breaths before you connect with the world again. So we're coming to the end of our video. We hope you've enjoyed it.
And if you enjoyed the videos, do remember to subscribe. Click on the subscribe button and you'll get information of when new videos are coming out. And if you've enjoyed this series, then do be aware that we are putting up other series for complete beginners, so you can continue doing different sequences each week to improve your yoga practice. Thank you for joining us today. Namaste.